All right, we're here with Fred Hope, rider extraordinaire, and this has made our top 5 list of best new products at the show, and I'm going to go ahead and just say it's number 1 right now.
Perfect.
So
I'd like to hear that.
This crosses over in both wing.
Yeah, wing, wake, kite, surf, whatever type of foiling you want to do. Dock starting, we were just dock starting over at the docks here in the basin. It really does everything, so it's not just made to fit one sport, and it's just one platform now too. We used to have Hoverglide and Phantasm. It's kind of a bit of a mess trying to balance the two and figure out what wings we put in each platform. So now it's one platform with 0 screws, so it's pretty cool.
That's called One Lock.
One Lock is the name. There's one little latch here. I can kind of go through the system. So there's a latch here that basically pulls the system together and locks it in. So you pull down this latch here, slide that out, and you'll see even when I take that out, I'm unable to pull the stabilizer out. That's because it's basically seated into the system through the cable latching down and pulling the stabilizer into the front wing. I'm basically seating the front wing down, and I'll show you that in a sec. But like I said, it doesn't pull out until you get to the stab and you start twisting it back and forth, and you see how it's kind of rocking a little bit. As it rocks, it's going to slowly back itself out, and then once you get it to a point, you can kind of pull the stab out. If you look back here, you can see when the system's in place, it's seated into the triangle. So there's a triangle in the collar that is identical to the triangle in the front wing, and then there's another triangle on the stabilizer. So they basically pull together and push the whole system and expand into the collar, which is what we're calling the bottom of the mast foot. So then once you get there, basically hit the front wing down to unseat the back. The front is still seated, so then you hit the front wing up, and then it just slides right out, just like that. So if you want to see what's going on inside, it basically is pulling the system together through the cable. Out of the mold, it's set to sit right about there. And then what we did is, from our learnings in Hoverglide, where the front wing would come loose over time, because out of the mold it's made to fit the fuselage, this actually over time starts to pull in and stays true to the shape of this collar here. So it sits here out of the mold. After 10 years of use, it'll slip into here and still have that same stiffness that you got from the first day you bought it. So pretty excited about that. And then because we had an easy to assemble system over here, we also want to do it on the bottom. So we put the RTS kit is on all of our masts. You saw this last year in some of our Hoverglide foils, but it wasn't compatible with Phantasm because of the shape of our Phantasm plate. So in the new plate, we changed that. We've got 2 flag screws here that come out the back. Just twist them with your fingers. Pretty easy. And then you'll see when I take those flags out, there's a little bit of a gap here. That's a bit of preload that we have here. So when you tighten these down, it pulls the mast down to prevent that rocking from side to side. That was really done on purpose so that we wouldn't have these things coming loose over time. There's always pressure pushing up on it. And then we basically have 2 sleds screwed to the mast plate on the front, and then 2 anchors on either side that you screw to the board. And so you basically lift the front, it slides out the back, and you're good to go. So this is what, there's basically a little tooth here, and there's an anchor in here. So it slides in here, I'll lock it down, slide the T-locks over the back, tighten that down, and you go up to the foil, slide this guy in, slide the back in, put the latch in like I'm doing here, and then you're done and you're ready to ride. So it takes little to no time at all to set it up, but in addition to having the time sensitive thing, we've eliminated corrosion and screws, so there's basically no corrosion going on anymore because there's no aluminum fuselage, and then you're not stripping any screw heads at all on the bottom of the foil as well. And by doing that, you minimize a lot of that drag that we had from those screws. So if you look at the side here, there's only 2 seams. There's one here where it mates and one here. The rest of the seams are internal, so there's no water flowing over that and causing drag, which really helps to make the ride feel super smooth. I've been saying it's like a Cadillac ride versus a Honda Civic. Somebody from Europe told me I should use the Rolls-Royce metaphor, so it feels kind of like a Rolls-Royce and how smooth it feels on the water. And something new that I've noticed as well when I go back to the Phantasm is when I'm on the Phantasm that has screws along the bottom like the other brands in the industry, when I let out on the wing or the kite, it immediately starts pulling down. Like when you're on an E-foil and you let out on the throttle, there's so much drag down there that it starts to pull down. It's not as excessive as that, but when you go onto this foil and then you go back to a screwed foil, you notice that when you let out on the power on this foil, the lift stays true. It doesn't start pulling down the second that you lose that power in the power source when you're kiting or winging. So yeah, we're pretty excited about that. If we want to walk over to the product line, we try to make it quite simple. We basically only have three series of masts. One's high modulus, 72 through 92. Then we have the normal carbon mast that's made in the same mold, so they both have this taper design, a little thicker cord, and a new, more efficient profile that's optimized for 12 to 25 miles an hour, whereas Phantasm was optimized a little bit higher, but wingers in general ride maybe 14 miles an hour when they're on the swell, so that's optimized for that speed in particular. Then we have our aluminum mast. It comes 52 to 92. What's pretty shocking is our aluminum mast is only 100 grams heavier than our carbon mast. So if you come over here, we've got the aluminum one here. You can pick that up with your free hand, put that down, and then you pick this one up. It's pretty much the same weight in your head.
That's amazing how light that aluminum
Yeah,
is.
and so the way we did that is we don't have any screws holding the plate or the collar onto the mast. It's all potted, so you don't have to put a different sort of aluminum inside that's stronger. That saves on weight. And then also you can see the cord is just a little bit bigger than on our carbon mast. That allows us to get more strength out of the same amount of aluminum that's put into the mast. So it's basically a stronger overall mast with less aluminum, and it's still quite stiff as well. So I'm almost more excited about this mast than I am about the carbons, because it's going to really make it easy for people to enter into foiling and into our platform without having that weight penalty that they see in other spots. And then also the buying decision is made really easy, because you don't buy just the mast piece and then have to figure out what plate you need and what screws go with that, or what adapter you need on the bottom. So it's all just one piece. We have one, you buy a mast, you buy a front wing, and you buy a stabilizer, and it comes with all the hardware you need to mount it to your board. And there's no fooling around with trying to do the little drop downs and figure out what plate you need and what adapter. If we go back to the wings, we've got three series. We have the Glide, which is similar to our PTM 99 series. We have the 725, 925, and 1125 that were offered in the old one. Although they are the same wings, they feel quite different because, like I said, there's no drag from those screws, but also the fuselage is now molded into the front wing, so the frontal area is quite a bit less by making it a monoblock construction. And then we have our Ease wings, which are similar to our old E-wings, but we added a size here in the 1250 for the lighter winger riders, and then the wakefoil riders that have a lot more energy in the swell while they're riding and learning. And then we have our Kite series. This is my favorite, the Kite 755. This is similar to my old wing, the 657. And then we have the 855 and the 1255. And what we did here is we basically fine-tuned the profile on our old 633, took out the wingtips and made it a little bit higher aspect. So the span is now 715. That gives a lot more glide and range of speed. And then before we had a 684 that kind of was supposed to position between these two wings in our old system, but we wanted to really get the jump from our 1255 to our 855 to be the same as jumping from the 855 to 755. So we made it a little higher aspect. So the difference in low end between these two wings is the same as the difference between these two wings, just so that when you're progressing, you know what to expect when you get down to the 755 and you're not shocked by having zero low end essentially. And then for stabilizer, we kept it pretty simple in the beginning. We have the 270, that's our beginner intermediate stab, and then we have our 180, that's our intermediate advanced stabilizer for winging, wake foiling, surf foiling, and then I've been kiting it as well. But my preferred stab for kite foiling is actually the Carve 200. This one has the wingtips that you've seen before. I like that for kiting because it really holds the tail in. I'm pushing a lot. You have a lot of power in kiting, a lot more than you do in winging. So that kind of stabilizes the yaw a lot, whereas the 180 is better suited for winging because you're trying to carve as much as possible without power in your hands. So yeah, basically pretty easy choice there. And then we've also constructed these quick start packages out of the SKUs in here. So we have the wing package that comes with our 82 aluminum mast, our 1850 front wing, and then our tail 270. Very simple. It's pretty affordable. I think that one sits at $12.49 to enter into the platform, which is pretty good, and there's no weight penalty by having aluminum mast on there, like I said. And then we have our wake package that's with our new 1250 and then our 270 tail. And then we do it again with our board, a WF2 that's new for this year and a new construction that's quite a bit more durable, and it also comes with fins, so it's really easy to change it to a wake surfer, especially with that RTS kit that I just showed you. You can just pop the foil off and start wake surfing. And then we have our Kite quick start package, which is with our 1255 and 270. And then an 82 mast. So we basically tried to make it as easy as possible for the customer to understand our platform and not just have a vomit of front wings and stabilizers. We didn't want to come out with 32 stabilizers at first. Eventually we will subsidize the line with smaller 180s or longer, shorter fuselages on the existing stabs. But in the beginning we just wanted to onboard people and kind of get the 80 to 90% of customers before trying to focus on that top 2%. Just to be really concise with the customer overall. But yeah, we're pretty excited about the product overall. It took a long time to develop it. We spent about 3 years. I've probably broken 20 front wings and 40 mass overall, trying to get to the right layup and geometry of the internal part of the collar to get enough carbon around that to basically keep it as strong as possible. Because when you have these wings installed on the mast, basically what's happening is it's expanded. When you start to torque it, it's expanding even more. And so that had a habit of breaking the collar on pass mast. And so we retooled everything, front wings and mast and stabilizers, to get more carbon to fit around inside that collar. So taking quite a bit of time, but we are very excited to release it because it really does solve a lot of the problems that we've been seeing, and that's kind of our goal at Slingshot, is to keep problems to a minimum, and help the rider figure out what they should be riding and be on the right kit for them to maximize progression.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.